scorer of the very first goal in Minnesota United MLS history. Christian Ramirez plays from the start.
Yeah, and T.A. comes in, so that moves Jermaine Taylor to left back. But here's the key here. Mohamed Saeed is not a natural wide player. He wants to play in the middle more often than not, but Adrian Heath believes with his engine, with his ability, with his left foot, Jermaine Taylor not overlapping, getting into the attack. Mohamed Saeed is a key today for this team creating for Christian Ramirez, who scored over 50 goals. And
opposing them today, Taylor, a brand new team, Atlanta United. Didn't get off to the best of starts last week with that 2-1 defeat. They played very well in patches, and Gerardo Martino making just one change from that side last week.
They did, and there's a real identity to this team. They're going to high press. They want both fullbacks, mirrors, and guards to push as high up the field as they can. But now Jeff Larenowitz comes into the lineup today. The key for him is just tactically being very aware that when both mirrors and guards are high up the field, he's got to sit in front of those two center backs and make sure they don't get hurt on the counter. But this team's going to get after Minnesota United and high press them from the opening whistle.
All those exciting young South American DPs, they are the one particular as they face the conditions here today. It was 68 degrees for their home opener last week.
Well, we asked Captain Michael Parkers yesterday. He said if only they videotaped the reactions getting off the plane. But once the whistle blows, once they see the orange ball, they hear the 37,000, it's going to be a difficult environment for Atlanta United. But this team believes in what they're doing. They believe in what Martino's trying to teach them. I think more of the pressure is actually on Minnesota United after that performance last week. They've got to make a statement to this crowd that they're here, they're not going to be walked over, and they're going to try to compete in a difficult Western Conference.
It has been very nearly 36 years since a Minnesota team walked out to play a top-flight professional soccer game in the United States, in their home state. That is about... We have been honoring some of the Minnesota greats from the past in the build-up to kickoff, including someone you're pretty familiar with, Taylor. Your dad is out there, Tim Twellman.
40 years ago, he was signed and drafted by the Minnesota Kicks. I know my family at home is watching. This is a special moment for all of them.
And the orange ball will be in play as the crowd greets the arrival of the two teams. Be another snow classico here in Minnesota. The two Uniteds kicking off when we return. Welcome back, everyone, to TCF Bank Stadium in Minnesota, getting set for the expansion derby, Minnesota and Atlanta. Let's go down to Julie Stewart-Biggs, standing by with Minnesota United head coach Adrian Heath.
Well, thank you so much, Adrian. It's cold, it's snowing, it's March in Minnesota. How do you deal with these conditions?
Yeah, it's same for both teams. One thing I said to the players, no excuses. Go out and play on the front foot, go and play in their half and enjoy it. We've got a great set of supporters here who come out in incredible conditions, so we owe it to them to put a performance on.
This week you welcomed in defender Jerry T.A. How does he fortify your backline, especially against the high-pressing Atlanta side?
Yeah, we think so. He's a very experienced, 300 games in the Swiss top division, so we had no qualms about putting him in. He's really looking forward to it.
Thanks so much, Coach.
Cheers, thanks very much.
And Julie, that exact question is the subject of my Continental Tire Analyst Corner.
Well, both these expansion clubs on the wrong end of those scorelines last week. Both of them will have wished the game was maybe 75, 78 minutes long. Minnesota were in it for that long in Portland. The Timbers pulled away with those late goals, and of course Atlanta had the lead for a big chunk of the game. At home for the Rebels, only for Jesse Marsh's side to turn it around down the stretch run. Taylor mentioned it, how important for Minnesota United to get off to the right sort of start at home. And they only played their first 7 games. Away we go! Top flight professional soccer returning to the North Star stage. It's been close to 36 years since these two cities last locked horns at this level of the game. Minnesota kicks. Atlanta Chiefs with one Tim Twelman on board. Minnesota United that day. Someone away to my right was all of a year and a half old at that time. I'm sure you were here though, Taylor, so it's good you're here again today.
Yeah, I'm just about 36 years older and my head's still about the same size.
Well, this crowd has been willing it to snow, and that is no exaggeration, is it? They wouldn't have had it any other way. It's actually been unseasonably warm here in Minnesota for the last month or so, but that all changed just in the couple of days leading up to this game. So much so that Atlanta changed their travel schedule. They were going to come up here and train originally, but then delayed their arrival. Now trying to get to grips life on this slick surface. As they opened up at home last week in their own college football stadium, their own temporary home, Bobby Dodd Stadium. There's Kevin Molino, another who will be taking some time to get used to the change of conditions, the former Orlando City man. Followed his Orlando coach north.
Well, snow's the element today and the big talking point. Turf, which is going to be a huge part of Minnesota United in their first 2 years. Molino's first 2 years with Orlando City was on turf, so he feels extremely confident in that fashion. But watch Atlanta United. Already, here we are 2 minutes into the game. Snow or not, cold weather or not, they're going to possess. They've got an identity. They're going to push numbers forward and ultimately look for Martínez getting in behind.
And that's exactly what he's done here. Martínez gives the visitors the perfect start. Well, it was the South American combination, Almirón slipping in Joseph Martínez, and he did the rest. It's a disastrous start for Minnesota, but Atlanta pouncing on the early lead.
But look right here, look at how stretched out Atlanta United is. So now you've got a new, right back into the game, Peterson. There's miscommunication between him and Molino, but when you're that stretched out, we saw it in the last 12 minutes against Portland. You want to come into this game at home, and you want to have the conversation, we've got to be compact. 3 minutes in, Atlanta stretches them out, and the last person they want in getting in behind is Joseph Martínez. Easy finish, great start for Atlanta United on the road.
Number 7.
And all the attention on the high-priced young South American DPs, and they showed plenty last week in that defeat. Almirón and Martínez combining to devastating effect already. Joseph Martínez, who's a Venezuelan international. Balloons trying to make their way forward. Venegas out on the far side, the Costa Rican international. Played as the lone front man, didn't he, for Adrian Heath last week up front, and then dropped back to allow Christian Ramirez to come on late.
Yeah, I just think, you know, and I know what Adrian Heath was thinking in his staff, but your opening game, you're on the road, you just, that's a statement right away to your team, a mentality. We're almost going to play 6 midfielders. We're not going to play with a target forward, and I thought they really struggled. Yes, they had some possession, but how much of that possession was with a purpose? Well, 5 minutes in, they've had very little of the ball, and very little of the ball in Atlanta's third, because Atlanta's pressure and their ability to stretch them out has already impacted this game early on.
So step in by another Argentine, Gonzalez Perez. At the back, he goes down to come off late on last week in the home opener. He's down after that challenge. ECF Bank Stadium on the campus of the University of Minnesota. The Minnesota United's home, in all likelihood, for the next 2 years while they build their own stadium in St. Paul, and that's going to be another magnificent stadium by all accounts. Same architects going to be responsible for that, we saw last week in Orlando City. There's Atlanta awaiting the opening of Mercedes-Benz Stadium, which will come later on in the summer. Stadium they will share with the Falcons as Minnesota try and make their way forward here. Venegas. Sliding interception, and it was needed, wasn't it, from Gonzalez Perez? Venegas very active early, and he's won the home team's first corner.
Well, and he's active early, but he's also in a better spot. You mentioned the first 60 minutes plus that he had in Portland. He's not a number 9. He doesn't want to play up front. He wants everything in front of him. And with Ramirez in the lineup today, it's going to put Venegas in, I think, a more successful spot where he can impact this game and ultimately stretch Parkers and Perez of Atlanta United.
Left-footed corner. Oh, and Can was under real duress there. Alec Can in goal for Atlanta. Picked up in the expansion draft of this Sporting Kansas City last year. Different approach from this corner. The flag came up. It was Venegas who was caught offside. And of course, last week it left such a bitter taste in the mouth. Adrian Heath's men, he talked a lot about them looking to make amends today. They were the first team making an MLS debut to concede more than 3 goals in a game in the history of the league. Only the 4th team ever to concede 5 in a season opener. They're already 1 down here. Almirón, highly coveted Paraguayan playmaker. So many big teams were interested in his services in the off-season. Swift attack from the visitors. This time it comes to nothing.
It's a real issue right now for Minnesota United. Right now they're having a very difficult time with Greg Garza and Tyrone Mears starting so high up the field that right now it's driving Said and Molino so deep that both fullbacks in Minnesota United, either one got to push them on, or 2, they've got to either take chances. But right now it's so easy for Atlanta United to break the initial line of pressure from Minnesota United and then get numbers in wide areas that have really impacted the game 8 minutes in. I mean, it's no secret, Adrian. You and I watched the Red Bulls game last week. They want to get wide and as high up the field as quickly as possible, and so far they've done that perfectly.
It's always been the philosophy of Atlanta coach Tata Martino. Fast and fluid, at times fast and furious. I press the swift passing game. Tata Martino, the Argentine coach, arriving in MLS. More significant coaching arrivals perhaps in the history of the league. The last 2 teams he coached were named Argentina and Barcelona. Attracted by the challenge of building a team from the ground up. This team have made a perfect start to life on the road here in MLS, and here comes Almirón again.
It's a great tackle from Francisco Calvo. And I felt he was one of the bright spots last week in Portland. And you can see it, obviously, Costa Rican national team player. But if his understanding with Demidov becomes better and quicker, right, then all of a sudden, if Demidov wants to take chances and he can cover that space in behind, that's a great example of big-time tackle.
There is Demidov, Vadim Demidov, Norwegian international, hugely experienced in terms of his European soccer pedigree. Played in Spain, in Germany, and also more recently in Norway. It's the turn from Said. Peterson, the new arrival, trying to release Molino. Molino going to ground. It's going to be a feat of engineering at times to stay on your feet this afternoon. Gonzalez Perez, 25-year-old Argentine centre back through the River Plate youth system. Still the feet going from underneath Molino. Well, the footwear would have been an interesting choice this afternoon, Taylor.
Well, a difficult one as well. And I always felt, you know, when you're playing on these kinds of surfaces, and even though the turf here is heated, the way the snow's coming down, it's obviously very difficult for that snow to go away, and you're seeing some players knock off the bottom of their shoes trying to get rid of some of that snow. But you've got to be extremely careful and calculated with some of your movements, and that's ultimately going to lead to an uglier game. But you've got to be smarter, and so far you've seen a couple touches from Perez, and then you're starting to see Molino get in behind. I just think on the defensive side of things, you don't want to make a silly mistake because you slip or the ball falls off your foot going the wrong way. But on the other hand, you got to follow everything through. Kevin Molino, Venegas, you got to follow everything through in case that ball comes loose.
Jeff Laurentowicz in midfield. Tyrone Mears, who provided the cross for Atlanta's first goal in team history last week. Emil Assad tucked it away quite neatly. Demidov had to hurry there. It was an awkward-looking clearance from him. He was tormented late on in the game in Portland, Vadim Demidov, by Fernando Adi. The first defender in this league who's befallen that fate. Gaza, another for whom the conditions will be a change. Almirón has found all sorts of space again. Oh, and he's rifled it into the roof of the net. Miguel Almirón with a simply scintillating finish. Some South American sizzle in the snow, and Atlanta are sitting pretty.
Oh, and there's so much talk about Miguel Almirón and whether or not he's a wide player. He plays in the middle, but at Lanús in Argentina, he started wide, but he loved the freedom when he was in the middle. He'd come in the middle, find that channel between the fullbacks and the center backs, and kill you. His movement, what is he, 5'7", 140 wet? It doesn't matter. He doesn't stop. He's constantly on the movement. Very similar like Nicholas Ladero for the Seattle Sounders. How's this for a start of a team full of South Americans in the snow in Minnesota? Perfect.
They have come out and made a statement. Almirón, who cost some $8 million to pry away from Lanús in the Argentinian First Division. But no sign of any bleeding being stopped at the back just yet for Minnesota United. Shipped all those late goals at the end of the game in Portland. It's a trend that has continued into their home opener. The crowd have had the wind taken out of their sails. An electric start from Atlanta United. Summon up for a response here. The Loons on the back foot again. It's Martínez doing the chasing and harrying. Nobody ever said life is going to be easy for an expansion team. It's certainly proved to be anything but in recent seasons. Taylor pointed out, has taken very different approaches coming into the league. Almirón was highly coveted, as I said, by top European clubs. Madrid stepping in. And who does bring the MLS experience.
And Adrian, I just want to go back to the first goal from Atlanta United, whether or not Joseph Martínez was offside, but look at the top of your screen right here. Jermaine Taylor late to react. So as this ball's played in behind, Joseph Martínez looks like he was a step on. That was very reminiscent of the goals where Jermaine Taylor was a step or half behind in Portland. And the biggest issue with expansion teams, and quite honestly it's new teams, when you have 4 defenders from different nationalities, different languages or whatnot, Minnesota United just looks disjointed.
But they're on the move here. Pass from Ramirez didn't quite come off. Christian Ramirez, who wears number 21. Ramirez actually the top American goal scorer in professional leagues in the last 3 years. Scored over 50 goals. Venegas losing out in midfield to Tito Villalba. Space again here for Martínez to try and exploit. Greg Garza joining the build-up. Bit of a flourish there from Assad. Almirón. Possession by Molino, and his efforts pay off, and now the counter-attack could be on. It's Ramirez leading the charge here. Ramirez still going. Oh, the cover arrived from Michael Parkhurst.
How good is that? That is so good from Michael Parkhurst, because when that ball turns over, there's a 2-on-1. If he immediately commits to Ramirez, then Molino's in. I mean, this is such a good play, though, from Michael Parkhurst, because he has to recognize at that moment he's got to slide over and cover. Look, immediately when this ball turns over, and this is one of the problems when you have Garza and Mir so high up, is that when the ball turns over, now you've got numbers. See, if Parkhurst comes over right now, Molino's in. But because he hesitates and then pushes Ramirez to one spot, timely tackle, that's big time.
Molino on the move again. And rewarded with a corner. Marcus telling us last night what an honour it was. A cool honour is how he phrased it, to be the first ever captain of Atlanta United. Garza finding the near post. Here comes the corner can, electing to punch. The shot may be on from distance. Sulla that took it, Rasmus Sulla. And trying to recover, Sulla brought his man down. Easy decision for Ismail Elfaf, and he's reaching into the top pocket as well. Rasmus Sulla, the Finnish international.
Well, and he's left with no decision. I mean, I get it, Tiesson is there to cover, but the way this Atlanta team gets on the break, as explosive as they are, particularly on the counter, Schuller's left with no decision other than that tactical foul.
If he wanted to argue, he would probably come up with one. He studied law at the University of Helsinki, but to Alan Khan. Of course, he has the prospect of Brad Guzan arriving in the summer. It's Khan's job for now. Now Molino. Burst of adrenaline. Venegas on his left foot. Well, didn't catch hold of it with that left foot the way he would have wanted.
No, but now you're starting to see Minnesota United wake up a little bit, because immediately when that ball turns over, if Molino can get in space and Venegas is running off for Christian Ramirez, you can catch Atlanta on the counter.
Big goals at the international level, isn't he, for the Ticos of Costa Rica, Venegas. He's Scored against the United States in World Cup qualifying, also scored against Spain and Colombia.
I just think one of the question marks for Venegas is, can he do it for 34 games a year? Can he do it for 90 minutes a game?
Well, he was out of favour, wasn't he, at the end of last year? The Montreal Impact, as they made their late run. It's the man known as Little Mo, coming Saeed. Over from the Columbus Crew. Searching examination in the first 20 minutes of Minnesota's defensive credentials. For more on that, let's go down to Julie.
Adrian, I just had a chance to speak with Mark Watson, assistant coach from Minnesota United. He said, we want to rally around this energy. We want to capitalize on our chances and be strong in that final third. But he said we cannot forget about the defensive aspect of this game. He said if we let in one more goal, it's out of reach.
Thanks, Julie. Certainly not the start they would have drawn up for life at home. It's promising work for them.
Where'd Julie do that hit? From her igloo down there? Where is she?
It's cold.
Well, we are being told, actually, very shortly there may actually be a pause of the game. They need to clear the snow off of some of the lines as the corner comes in. Atlanta able to tidy things up. No foul. Almirón coming up clutching his face. Here's Venegas. Midway point of the first half. This expansion derby, as it's been termed, between the two Uniteds, going very much Atlanta's way. Minnesota trying to reset and recalibrate. They have a set piece to work with here. Struggling for footing, struggling to even place the ball.
Keep an eye on this near post. Any kind of deflection's a nightmare for a goalkeeper with the snow.
Saeed service, and well, that was rather Blair Walsh-like, to use some Minnesota sporting history. They'd rather forget. The Vikings played here for a couple of seasons, 2014, 2015. Yeah, there are some lines underneath the snow. As you mentioned, Taylor, there is some under-turf heating here. It's not enough to keep the snow off, so take a little break. Perhaps it's a hot cocoa break as well for the players, rather than...
Well, the field may be heated, but Atlanta United showed up hot and ready to play immediately. Joseph Martínez was active. Almirón's been extremely active. But it's also been just the setup tactically, how they've spread out this back line of Minnesota United. In the first 15 minutes, they were chasing shadows. But just watching one game from this young star from Paraguay and Miguel Almirón, it's his mobility, very similar to Nicholas Ladero of Seattle. He doesn't need a lot of touches, but the way he moves, it just unsets any back line. Atlanta's had the perfect start in their first road game in franchise history.
For more on that, the conditions down there. What do you got, Julie?
Well, just speaking with Aaron Hyde from Atlanta United, he said this is a moment right now that we can't let turn the tide. We can't let these conditions sort of get in our head and get the better of us. But looking at this field, I spoke with the director of field operations for TCF Bank. He told me it's heated by a glycol-based system to keep temperatures around 75 degrees, but the turf's actually around 50 degrees. Taylor, I thought you might find this interesting. The reason why it's heated is to mitigate concussions. I said, when the field and the turf was cold, it really had a harder blow. This helped soften it.
Julie, how do you spell glycovase?
Glycol. It's a heated alcohol.
Stoppage for snow removal. We don't see that too often on any scoreboards around the league. Well, we have a moment. MLS Soccer Sunday on ESPN is presented by Audi. I know how to spell that, Taylor, in case you're wondering. What a start for Tata Martino and his team. I think for week one and what we've seen in week two, exactly as advertised. The Argentine manager promising his fast and fluid style.
But I don't think they're shy of the expectations either. You know, even though around the league people kind of want to tone it down and say expansion teams making the playoffs is so difficult, I'm not sure that man right there, Captain Michael Parker's, they all kind of reiterated, no, we should make the playoffs.
Oh, they're through again here, and it's free! It just gets better and better for Atlanta. And it's more misery for Minnesota. The defense undone once more. And it's Martínez with his second of the afternoon.
Well, and with this attacking four, obviously expectations are they should make the playoffs, but this is just Minnesota United not keeping possession and then immediately recognizing we've got to go forward. And Atlanta United, doesn't matter, turf, snow, weather, their first touch, their layoffs, their runs off the ball. They've been on point from the opening whistle and have completely played Minnesota United off their home field.
I heard Julie just a few minutes ago saying that Mark Watson, assistant coach for Minnesota, saying one more goal could be fatal. Well, lo and behold, they have conceded another goal. And that's now 8 and counting through the first 2 games. Not even at a game and a half, really. Said doing good work. Final pass went astray. Sulla was lurking and the counter-attack could be on yet again here. Would you believe it? They're through once more and threatening to make it for Atlanta. And that was a goal-saving challenge right at the end from Jermaine Taylor.
It's a great run forward from the rookie Julian Gressel, just so good at making sure that he draws the 2 or 3 defenders from Minnesota United, then lays it off. My goodness, how explosive is this team on the break? Or is how bad is Minnesota United defensively?
Oh, real cause for concern amongst the home faithful, I'm sure. The opening day melt away towards the end of the game in Portland can perhaps have been excused, but this start can certainly sow those seeds of doubt much more deeply. Minnesota, the 6th club to become an expansion team in MLS, having played the prior year in either USL or NASL. Molino. Oh, and he's given the penalty. A lifeline handed to the home team. Ismail Elfaf pointing to the spot as Molino was upended.
Well, that's the right call. Jeff Larentowicz is playing for the ball, but Kevin Molino a little bit quicker, a step and a half ahead of Jeff Larentowicz. No doubt that's the right call from the referee.
A lunge in from Larentowicz, who didn't play last week, and comes at the cost of this penalty. Can Kevin Molino restore some hope here for Minnesota right at the half-hour mark? Molino having won the penalty to take responsibility. Molino against and Kevin Molino, as cool as you like, rolls it home. Minnesota United on the board
Just going back to the penalty, it's great recognition from Kevin Molino to beat Jeff Lorenowitz to that ball. Drawing the penalty in difficult circumstances to keep your footing, not slip running up to that penalty. He gets on going the other way. Brings some life and some energy into this Minnesota United home opener in Major League Soccer.
Well, Molino, the man, they spent a fair degree of money to bring north from Orlando City, $650,000 worth of allocation money. A figure that raised some eyebrows around the league. Taylor, his manager, said he thinks they got him cheap. And now a lead challenge for Molino. In flashes, Taylor, we saw something very special, didn't we, from Molino in his second season in Orlando. He got 11 goals and 8 assists last season in the Sunshine State.
Well, and a good example, I think, for Christian Ramirez, because remember, Kevin Molino lit up USL. Christian Ramirez has lit up NASL, making that transition, and obviously Molino tearing the ACL stalled that first year. But remember what Kaká said. He said regarding the thing between his ears, the footballer brain, he can play anywhere in the world. And the one thing about Kevin Molino that when you talk to his teammates in Orlando City and even shortly this time here in Minnesota, they all say he makes everyone around them better. I'm just not sure Kevin Molino can play center back.
Ramirez in the thick of the action. It's pounced upon. Adventurous back pass in these conditions, perhaps. No trouble though for Alec Can. Lovely control from Yamil Assad. Searching crossfield ball was hauled in by Taylor. Sulla wheeling around, looking for an outlet. Almost overhit his pass. Dangerous territory, and maybe underhit. Turning on very thin ice there at the back, Minnesota, but now that clattering challenge is going to produce another booking. Leandro Gonzalez Perez, who has shown yellow. Venegas sent tumbling. Demidov feeding it forward. It's Said. Oh, it sat up invitingly for him. Mohamed Said has never scored in MLS in the regular season. 2 years with Columbus, that team that made MLS Cup back in 2015. Sulla over the top. So clever on the right-hand side. It's the Alba. And just trickled out of play. Our next MLS Soccer Sunday presented by Audi will be on April the 2nd. A bit of a later start time for you at Providence Park on ESPN2. It'll be the Portland Timbers against the New England Revolution. Again, Sunday, April the 2nd, after the international break. So also the game on Watch ESPN and the ESPN app. Almirón, who will be an active participant in that international break. Called up for World Cup qualifiers from Paraguay, and that scoop pass over the top produces the offside flag.
some signs of life on this Minnesota United back line, but that's still close. I just too often, Jermaine Taylor is a step or two behind Calvo and Demidov.
Molino trying to make things happen. Another strong challenge in the penalty area. There's a shoulder charge.
We're just starting to get the feel of the momentum of the stadium. The game get a little sloppy, and this is where, for an expansion team like Atlanta United, the Jeff Larenowitzes of the world, the Michael Parkers of the world, they've got to be leaders. They need some leadership here. Maybe you regroup, maybe be a little bit more compact, but right now Minnesota United having a little bit of the game going forward.
And for all that Minnesota have had their defensive problems, last game and a half, so too Atlanta had their problems at the end of the game last week.
You're starting to see Venegas and Molino have a little bit more freedom coming forward. I think that's a good no call from the referee.
It would have been really harsh if he pointed to the spot.
But I do think there's cause for concern right now if you're Michael Parker, so that center back spot, they're just a little too wide open, and that high pressure that we saw in the first 20 to 25 minutes, we haven't seen a lot of that over the last 10 minutes, and I think Minnesota United, after the penalty kick from Kevin Molino, having a little bit more success going forward.
There's Martínez. Burst onto the scene in MLS. 2 goals in this first half. I've had a couple last week. Defeated the Red Bulls into Tata Martino last night. Asked him about that game. Said all that was missing was the finishing. Certainly found the finishing touch here in the first half. And that's going to be a goal kick.
And they had their chances, but they also didn't finish the game.
Right.
And I asked Tata Martino yesterday, if you're up 2-0, 2-1, 80th minute, will you change the way you play? And he said, no, from minute 1 to minute 90, we're going to play the same way. And that is the hardest thing he's got to teach this team.
Man was very used to the big occasion. Tata Martino, a year with Barcelona, 2 years with Argentina, of course, coaching Lionel Messi in both those situations. With Argentina to 2 Copa America finals. Lost them both.
And one of those big storylines that I'm going to watch this year, because if he's successful immediately, I think there's some ownership groups in Major League Soccer that will look at going to get, with big money, going to get a manager, a teacher like Tata Martino.
Yeah. And that's the word. And he likes that word to be used, isn't he? Teacher.
How about the smile on his face when I asked him if he's a manager or a teacher?
Yeah. Minnesota trying to make their presence felt. Molino! It was a great opportunity for him. He wants the corner. He's not even going to get that. It should perhaps have been a lot more.
And there's some frustration right now in this back line of Atlanta United. They're all out of sorts, and Molino's really found the game over the last 12 to 15 minutes, whether he's coming in central, whether he's wide running off Ramirez and Venegas. Everything going forward for Minnesota United is going through number 18, Kevin Molino.
Shake of the head for the Trinidadian. He knows that was a gilt-edged opportunity. He did across the face of goal rather than really testing Alec Can. Sulla now muscled and outmaneuvered in the centre of the park, so too Colin Warner. Forward it goes quickly, and again an opening here for the home team. It's Venegas, couldn't take the ball with him this time. As well to wheel around and rekindle the attack. Is Peterson with a cross. Oh, it's a great cross. Ramirez went airborne and couldn't quite get on the end. Still alive though. Another header down. And Atlanta just about holding their defensive nerve. Still struggling to complete the clearance. Really good spell of play here for Minnesota United. And the crowd producing a guttural roar. As they do that, though, the sloppy pass rather spoiled what had preceded it. And the breakout could be on again. It's Martínez, as his teammate was absolutely flattened there. And it was the Alba who was trying to release Martínez with this little touch.
Well, and they called Joseph Martínez off, but on the bottom of the screen, Demonov was late to recognize that. And there's no doubt that's a foul, but at the end of that play, the referee rightly, because the assistant referee, look at the bottom of your screen, Demonov was late. Joseph Martínez was onside.
Well, it was Calvo who clattered into the Alba. He has now actually been booked. As Ismail Elthaf produced the yellow card for the Costa Rican centre-back. Well, we have a moment coming up at the Audi half-time report. Taylor and I will discuss the impact of league expansion. An interesting off-season it has been. We'll break down also week 2 from MLS. Some great games yesterday. Some slightly eyebrow-raising results early on in this new season.
How about the one this afternoon?
Yeah. New York City saved up all those goals they didn't get from last week. DC United bore the brunt of that.
San Jose coming back. What were they down? 2-0 at home to Vancouver.
Going back to win 3-2. Consecutive wins for them to open the season. 2 wins for the Houston Dynamo to open the new season. Chicago with 4 points out of 6. There's a league where it is possible to turn around your fortunes very quickly.
I just wonder, with MLS expansion and more teams coming in, what is the likelihood of seeing what Seattle Sounders did in 16? I think that diminishes every year you add 2 teams, and it's going to be more difficult if you don't get any kind of results, any kind of points in the first 2 or 3 months.
Seattle remain the benchmark, don't they, in terms of expansion teams? They're only one of the last 11 to have qualified for the playoffs at the first time of asking. It's the task facing these 2 teams this season. Sad coming back for the clearance. Almirón. And Gaza stepping in. Or rather, it was Gonzalez Perez. To the penalty area, up for grabs. The shot might be on for Sulla. Instead, he slips it in. It's a great ball, and Khan forced into dramatic action there. The Atlanta keeper had to go sprawling and keep Minnesota at bay.
For as ugly as the surface is and the weather right now, you're seeing some unbelievable 1- and 2-touch play. Look at this intricate passing between Minnesota United. Mohamed Saeed makes a great run. Great first touch here. Parker's can't get a touch, but Khan has to come off his line. Coming up with a big play, but we're seeing some great touches in some difficult elements.
Sands ball short of the mark this time. That's going to be a free kick for the home team. They may have time to launch one more attack in this first half. Saeed on the receiving end. Tyrone Mears. Trying to take the restart too quickly. We'll have to do it again. 2 minutes of stoppage time to be added on here at TCF Bank Stadium. Minnesota United starting life at home in MLS against the other expansion United, and Atlanta dominating the early proceedings, tearing through this Minnesota United defense almost at will. Now to a 3-0 advantage, but a little bit of hope restored for the home team. Let's see if Kevin Molino's penalty. Molino's on the ball here. Said. Peterson, the Swiss right back. A shake to that cross from him, and he's rewarded with a corner. Said seeking firm footing, seeking to trouble his Atlanta defense as well. And he comes, oh, it's up for grabs still! The shot deflected and back off the bar! They cannot force it home! Minnesota United so close to getting back within touching distance. And a big, big let-off for the Atlanta United defense. Martínez chasing and harrying. It's Alborga who had to hurry, the Minnesota goalkeeper. Well, you said it, Taylor. So often in these conditions, it's the attackers that struggle, and the defenders can have the upper hand. It's been exactly the opposite here.
It really has. And set pieces have looked like a little bit of an issue, I think, for Khan in the back four of Atlanta United. The last 2 or 3 corners, it's been an issue. This ball gets all the way through the 6-yard box. He gets a first save here, but then it's the quick reaction from Jermaine Taylor. But I think the last 10 or 12 minutes, Adrian, it's something for Adrian Heath. Anything positive out of that first half, he's got to go with the last 12 or 15 minutes.
Certainly a very different complexion to those final 15 minutes of the first half. Alex Cann may have got a fingertip to that shot from Jermaine Taylor to send it onto the crossbar. If he did, that was a wonderful save to keep his side at 2 goals to the good. Let's hear from the Atlanta United captain, Michael Parker, standing by with Julie.
Thank you so much, Adrian. Michael, extremely explosive start from Atlanta. Minnesota gaining a little bit of momentum. What are your thoughts on the first half?
Yeah, we came out of the gates really well. Put them under a lot of pressure. Got them running back towards their own goal. You know, we let them back in the game with the penalty, and then we didn't finish the half well. So, you know, we need to come out the second half like we started the first.
How are you dealing with these conditions?
It's difficult. You know, it's getting tough to see. It's tough, but you got to deal with it.
Thanks so much, Michael. Sure.
Thanks, Julie. Michael, explosive start, didn't they?
They did, and a lot of it is from their own doing of just spreading out Minnesota United and making them think tactically of whether or not the fullbacks push the wingers up high or whether or not they come back and deal with it. So now Molino and Said are not in great defensive positions. Taylor and Peterson are isolated. But how good is Almirón? His movement, the first time layup from Assad. Joseph Martínez with 2 goals. There is an identity to this team. There's an excitement to this team. But there's also a vulnerability. In the last 10 to 12 minutes of Atlanta United, they struggled to find their rhythm and keep going at Minnesota United. And I felt Minnesota United ended that first half on the front foot.
Actually ended up out-shooting Atlanta by a 12-4 margin. 3-1. The only statistic that really counts. Joseph Martínez, the star of the show, with 2 goals in the first half. Getting the second half underway. The 5 stripes of Atlanta, the red and black. From left to right now on your screen. Up against the grey and blue, the Loons of Minnesota United. Julie Stewart-Binks is with us. She had the chance to talk to Adrian Heath. What did he tell you, Julie?
Adrian Heath told me that we put ourselves in a massive hole, but he liked the last 25 minutes, felt that they did a very good job pressing in the final third. He said the next goal is a huge difference maker. He said if we get it, we're back in it. If we allow the next goal, this game is completely over. He told the guys at halftime, you have dug yourself your own grave. Now it's your responsibility to get out of it. He said the conditions are only getting worse. We have to play in their half.
Thanks, Julie. They started to dig their way out of that hole, didn't they, with that turnaround in the final 15 minutes. Can they keep things on lockdown at the other end? It's the chief concern I'm sure Minnesota United fans have. That man has been simply splendid, hasn't he? Joseph Martínez in the Italian top 5 with Torino most recently. Scored for Venezuela in World Cup qualifier just last November against Bolivia. Almirón, his first in Atlanta red, as well the second of this afternoon. They come again. Back heel from Assad didn't quite come off the shot from distance. Alborga able to field it. Alborga, the 34-year-old Swedish keeper, seen 8 goals fly by him over the course of a game and a half. Quite the introduction to MLS he was hoping for. Alborga, by the way, was the Swedish World Cup team in 2006, a World Cup team that also included one Zlatan Ibrahimovic, who was on a lot of people's radars this week. Could he potentially be the next really big name arrival?
I don't think there's any doubt about it, that he's obviously at the forefront of a couple owners in Major League Soccer that are willing to make him the most expensive player in MLS history, and I think primarily it's going to be a battle between two LAs. But right now, I think Zlatan, the way he's played, particularly the first 6 or 8 months with Manchester United, I don't care about the age, he obviously would have a huge impact in the league.
It's funny, we're watching a team here this afternoon, and Atlanta United have taken a very different approach. Really what's viewed as the way forward for this league.
Well, I think there's very few players that I just don't think the league, and this is what I talked about at halftime, is it's a huge step. It's leaps and bounds MLS making soccer decisions. They're not bringing over retired players. They're bringing over who's got value on the market, who's going to come in the prime of their career and play. I just think Zlatan may be the...
Right, might be the exception to that rule. He's both, isn't he? He's a soccer decision and he's a marketing decision. Minnesota, of course, have gone a very different route. They didn't have nearly as long as Atlanta United to plan their entry into the league. And only officially announced as an expansion team last August. Bill McGuire had been charting that path for them for the preceding 4 years. Adrian Heath not appointed until November. Here's Venegas. Didn't have long to put this team together. There were only 2 players on his squad as recently as December.
And that's also why at the beginning of the show, Adrian, I think it's an apples-oranges discussion comparing the philosophy of Atlanta United versus Minnesota United. Minnesota United's under Dr. Bill McGuire. It's over $300 million he's putting in for the stadium and the expansion fee. So they want to assess where they are. They want to get their feet into Major League Soccer. And then when that stadium opens, I can guarantee you Minnesota United will have at least 2 designated players on that roster.
That stadium looks like it'll be up and running for the 2019 season. So, looking at 2 years here at this facility. The University of Minnesota Gophers.
Well, I'm wondering after this game if that new stadium's going to have a Zamboni. I mean, are you as shocked as I am that they don't have the mechanism to blow off this at halftime?
It's an interesting deal they've had to strike with the university here, isn't it? They have to play a big chunk of their games in the middle part of the season, the summer months. They'll play 5 in a row at home here in July and August, but it's bookended by some long road trips. 5 of their first 7 on the road. And that's the increased urgency to get something out of today. A mountain to climb. Saeed feeding it in, though. Early promise at the start of the second half.
Well, and the pace is completely different. The hardest part about playing in these types of conditions is the first half, you've already warmed up, you've got a good sweat. It's at halftime you go in, then you come out, you're freezing. So now getting the blood flow, getting into the game, it's been a slow start to this second half, but it still was an opportunity, like Adrian Heath told our Julie Stewart-Banks. Minnesota can get a goal, and all of a sudden this game is still left to be had for them at home.
Mark Dayton. Minnesota proclaimed this Soccer in Minnesota Day. Still hoping to have something to celebrate at the end of the day. Here's a man who can give them that. No foul. Interesting decision from Ismail Elfaf. Sulla left his foot in, but the counter-attack is on here once again for Atlanta. The Alba repelled only half away, and it's 4, and that might be that. Devastating front play from the South American stars for Atlanta United. Almirón has his second, and the visitors seem to be running away with the victory.
Well, and this play starts with a non-call from the referee here. He argues that Tyrone Mears comes in late, wins possession. From that look, I think that's a good no call. But talk about warning signs to the rest of Major League Soccer. If you lose possession, you better watch out, because Atlanta United can absolutely kill you on the counter. Almirón, with his second goal of the day, has got an assist to add to that. But how explosive is this team on the break? This is fun to watch.
Oh, showtime, isn't it? From Atlanta United, Almirón with another strike as sweet as you like. Christian Ramirez trying to breathe some life back into his hands, into his senses. Minnesota United caught cold at the start of the first half and again at the start of the second.
Scoring.
9 goals given up in just over 3 halves of soccer.
Yeah, it's an ominous start to life, isn't it, defensively? And not short of experience at the back, not necessarily MLS experience, Taylor, but you look at Demidov and Calvo and Jermaine Taylor, they've all played for their countries numerous occasions. Norway, Costa Rica, Jamaica.
Yeah, but is Jermaine Taylor really a fullback? No, I mean, and that's it. The cause for concern that I have with Minnesota United, and this was way before they even played the game in Portland, is that I think people underestimate the jump from NASL or USL to Major League Soccer. I just think they do. And so, look, they gave Miguel Ibarra over $400,000. Adrian, he's on the bench.
Yeah.
So, as the first 6 months of this season go on, they've got to be very careful in the summer window, if the season goes the way this is, that they don't compound it by making a mistake on top of that initial mistake. But I'm not sure this team looks fit enough to be a good team in Major League Soccer, especially defensively.
Molino has been a flicker of hope for them, and his diligence there wins another free kick. Tackle for Villalba, deemed to be an illegal one. Molino has been at the heart of everything good that Minnesota have produced. Now standing over the free kick as well. Actually, he's left the free kick for others. Calvo is there. So Venegas, Mohamed Saeed, trying to sweep away the snow to give themselves some footing on the run-up. Who will it be to take this? It is Venegas. He killed it. Couldn't begin to keep it down. Johan Venegas, who, as I mentioned, scored against the US in that 4-0 win. Proved to be Jurgen Klinsmann's last game in charge. And had a bit of a dust-up with John Brooks, you might remember. 2 years with Montreal. Imagine the short lead-in time that Minnesota had to get this MLS project together. Atlanta, of course, were given much more of a glide path into the league. They awarded their expansion franchise back in April of 2014. Ismail Elfaf with a yellow card in his hand. Looks as though Kevin Molino is the recipient.
And here I was talking about Miguel Ibarra and making over 400,000. Look at Assad's contract, just over 150 grand. That's a shrewd pickup. And another thing that Atlanta United did that was very interesting is that Jones and McCann missed last week in a week of training because they were getting their green cards.
Yeah.
So sorry, Adrian, but in April of 2014, they know they're coming in the league, and so they want to go out and get some players. So what do? They start the process of getting a green card for Jones and McCann, and that allows them to go out and get Assad on loan.
Yeah, very interesting maneuver that. There's 2 more international spots because of those green cards. Last week was a tasty opening in many ways, except the result for Atlanta United this week. In terms of a follow-up, must have fans down there salivating.
And I think it's fair to say a little unexpected. You and I drive into the stadium, we see the snow, we see the weather forecast, we're like, what kind of team's going to show up for Atlanta United today? And I've been obviously surprised from the opening whistle they were ready to play, but it's the commitment to the way they want to play. Whether the momentum's on their side or not, they've played the same way for 59 minutes here today.
Not backed off for a single moment.
Playing 7 players in their starting 11 today, 24 and under.
Yeah. Hey. Sprinkle that with some MLS experience from the likes of Michael Parkhurst and Jeff Laurentowicz, Tyrone Mears. Found a formula that could be mighty successful here. Darren Eales was appointed president in September of 2014. Carlos Bocanegra appointed shortly afterwards, and working on this project for well over 2 years. It was bringing Tata Martino on board that brought everything together.
And under the radar, Paul McDonough has been a huge part of this. Remember, Paul McDonough was with Adrian Heath at Orlando City, so now this is McDonough's second time of going through the expansion process, maybe learning a couple of things of what he did in Orlando and changing those here in Atlanta. But those 3 gentlemen have done a great job, not only getting Martino acclimated, but also understanding. Even Tata said yesterday he wants to learn the salary cap, he wants to learn the roster rules, and he's going through that with those 3 gentlemen. But listen, it's 4-1 today, it's in the 60th minute. Who knows what happens the rest of the year, but it's been a perfect start for Atlanta.
It's not the only meeting of the season between these 2 teams, even though they're in different conferences. They'll meet again on August the 13th. It'll be very interesting to see where the 2 clubs are come that point in the season. The game will be after Mercedes-Benz Stadium has opened for business in Atlanta. Tyrone Mears, who of course won MLS Cup last year with Seattle, and was released the day after. Taylor, intelligent throw. Molino picked up an interesting position. Back out to Taylor. He skips around the first challenge. Cam coming out to meet it, couldn't really punch it clear, and that was a great chance for Mohamed Saeed. He blazed it over the top.
My initial reaction, Adrian, this is a penalty. As this ball's in error, Ramirez tries to get that, and listen, they're both fighting for position. Now that I've watched it a second time, listen, Gonzalez, Perez, you know what? I'm okay with the no call. But my initial reaction was this is a penalty. you can make an argument.
Yeah.
Both guys were fighting for position.
Well, we've certainly seen those given, haven't we?
Well, and just talking yesterday with Michael Parkhurst about his relationship with Gonzalez Perez, and it's just, they're not the most athletic bunch, but there's one thing about Gonzalez Perez that Parkhurst loves is he's aggressive, he's combative. And that's where Parkhurst has been successful throughout his career, is when the guy next to him goes out, wins tackles, he can read the game, he can clean things up. I just look at this, you're looking at both. I mean, listen, we've seen it given, but for me, I think it's a good no call.
Yeah, and Parkhurst was absolutely flattened, wasn't he, by his own goalkeeper, Alec Khan, in his hurry to get there. Parkhurst trying to recover on the near side. Alec Khan, who's the backup to Tim Melia, played 7 times for Sporting Kansas City last year. Mohamed Saeed, who let that chance fall his way. Minnesota have had their moments going forward. They've had moments they would like to forget at the other end.
You guys are ready?
Rentowitz looking that high. He's there snapping at the heels of Molino to win it back. Good work from Colin Warner. He's very used to life with expansion clubs. Warner, he's playing for his 5th expansion team. Houston, Toronto, Montreal, and RSL. Minnesota 1, Atlanta 4. It's battle of the 2 Uniteds. It's the team from the south, very much with the upper hand in the north. Ramirez with a little flick on towards Venegas. Spins the way of Molino here. To feed the goal scoring machine of Christian Ramirez at all, have they?
No, they haven't. And Adrian, we came into this game wanting to watch him, and anytime a player has scored over 50 goals in 3 years, you want to see him get the opportunity. But just talking with Adrian Heath and the staff, and they said his game really needs to evolve at this level, and it's the stuff in between the boxes, whether it's his hold-up play with his back to goal. Today we've seen very little from Christian Ramirez. Very little, particularly in possession, to relieve that pressure, to play the balls into his feet. And that's the part of his game that needs to evolve. We all know he'll score goals when given the opportunities, but in order to get inside the 18, you've got to play a part of it in that possession and that build-up play, and we haven't seen a lot from Christian Ramirez today.
They are clearing the lines, a little stoppage just for a few moments to bring on the snow blowers. We haven't seen too much of Christian Ramirez. We have seen a lot of Joseph Martínez.
Yeah, it's just so explosive, but it's also the timing of his runs. He timed them perfectly, also coming in between both center backs and running off of Almirón and Assad. But this kid's a special player, and everyone was talking about Almirón coming into this year. But when you watch him play in person, he's relentless. He never stops moving. So if you're Warner, if you're Schuler, how do you keep track? You think he's a traditional number 10. He's not. His movement is impeccable, and it really is a nightmare to track a player like Almirón. He and Martínez have been on point and on the same page from the opening whistle.
He's left the Minnesota faithful wondering what has hit them. And Minnesota have conceded 9 goals now. their first 2 MLS games. For more thoughts on Joseph Martínez, Julie.
Adrian, I found it fascinating. During warm-ups, every single player on the pitch was fully dressed up. They had long pants. The only player that wasn't was Joseph Martínez. He was wearing shorts. I spoke with the coaches. They told me that he said he prefers this kind of weather. He insisted that he was going to wear shorts in warm-ups. He said because of the time he spent playing in Sweden, he said being in weather like this keeps you on your toes. It keeps you awake.
Yeah, it keeps you on your toes because they're frozen.
Well, Martínez has some pedigree, doesn't he?
You really want me to believe he prefers this weather, by the way?
Well, he played in Torino, where it has been, has been known to snow.
Yeah, Minneapolis, Torino, that's similar.
Turin up in the northern part of Italy, but he has just embraced this challenge this afternoon. I know he doesn't encounter these conditions too often playing for his country. He's a Venezuelan international. Little touch there to Villalba. Around the back goes Tyrone Mears. As Atlanta continue to probe and push. They've been so swift in moving forward whenever the opportunities presented itself. And the finishing has just been lethal. Really in goal. Alborga only had 1 or 2 saves to make. He's seen 4 shots go past him. Mears. Sling back to win it. Parkhurst elevate over the top. Parkhurst again. MLS Soccer Sunday on ESPN is what you're watching. It is presented by Audi. So glad you could be with us for week 2 of the new season. Adrian Healy, Taylor Twellman, Julie Stewart-Binks. Atlanta in pole position at the moment. Get their first victory as an expansion franchise. It's MLS Cup in Colorado. 5 years, of course, with the Revolution. Just a year with the Galaxy before becoming a part of this expansion project. And 320 regular season appearances. Mears. That's a long throw. And kept it short. MNUFC. You can hear the crowd trying to play their part. Sold a little short on that ball out of the back. They were desperate to turn TCF Bank Stadium into a home field advantage, Taylor. They felt it was crucial here in Minnesota. They were going to be able to win their home games. Even in what you say a temporary home for them for the next 2 years.
Well, I think if there's been any positive today for Minnesota, it's actually been the community. 35,000 plus in a game like this. I mean, that is a statement. But the one thing about this community, Adrian, very similar to Portland in that sense where, listen, they'll support you, but then they understand the game.
Yeah.
So they're not going to take 9 goals given up in 2 games. It's not going to take that long. So the pressure will build, particularly with that stadium coming around the corner. You know, it is stating the obvious, but not the way I think a lot of people felt Minnesota would come. Hey, listen, no one expected Minnesota to light the house on fire coming into MLS, but a little surprising at how difficult it's really been for this team to find their feet and find any kind of groove.
Bashkim Kadri, meanwhile, has come on for Rasmus Sulla. First switch of the day for Adrian Heath, with just a little less than 20 minutes to go. For more on Minnesota's struggles, Julie.
Well, not struggles in terms of the fan base, Adrian. Off of Taylor's point there, spoke with NHL's Minnesota Wild captain, Miku Koivu, who told me that there is such a buzz about soccer in this city. He actually reached out to Rasmus Schuler. They brought him into a training one day because he's Finnish, as well as a number of players on the Wild team. Rasmus Schuler told me that he grew up playing hockey in Finland. He went to the same school as the Wild's Michael Granlund. And when he was playing in Sweden, he actually took one practice out of the year, brought all of his teammates onto the ice, and they had a practice on a hockey rink. He said, I want to do that here. I want to teach my teammates how to play hockey.
Thanks, Julie. It's certainly a major city in terms of sports, isn't it? Minneapolis, but they're under threat again here. Atlanta threatening to run riot. Oh, it was a delightful, soft finish, which was just wide of the mark from Greg Garza, of all people.
I just love Martinez's timing of his runs, because immediately when possession is won, they're going the other way. Martinez is an option, where conversely on the other side, Ramirez isn't an option. So Martinez is always running those seams, and then it gets Demidov chasing the game, it gets Calvo chasing the game. And anytime you play with a center forward that can get both center backs thinking one way while he's going the other, it's a dream to play underneath him, and we've seen that particularly from Almirón and Assad today.
Assad, who finished so smartly last week against the Red Bulls. More angst written large on the face of Kevin Molino. March the 26th is a date for your diary at 11:50 a.m. Eastern on ESPN2. You're home for a European qualifying for the 2018 FIFA World Cup. Azerbaijan against Germany in Group C. And then March 28th at 2:50 Eastern ESPN2. With France taking on Spain as they've broken through here again. Atlanta! And the finish is made, and this is just getting out of hand for Minnesota. Atlanta in dreamland. Martínez has completed his hat-trick. And it's that scoreline again for Minnesota, 5-1.
And becoming the 4th player in Major League Soccer history in an expansion year, the first year to score a hat-trick. Kyle Larin, Sebastian Letou among that group, but his running off the shoulder of Demidov and Calvo has been a complete headache for this back line. You have seen Calvo and Demidov chase shadows, and that shadow has been of Josef Martínez. He's been clinical with his runs, clinical with his finishing, and Atlanta has completely played Minnesota United off the field today.
Absolutely devastating. A clinical exhibition of finishing. South American frontman for Atlanta United.
Kyle Larin, Sebastian Letou, and Diego Serna for the Miami Fusion are the other 3 players to score a hat-trick in the first year of an expansion team in MLS.
Some pretty lofty company Josef Martínez has put himself in with. Martínez scored 7 goals in 58 appearances with Torino in Serie A. Now another new name for Atlanta United is going to take a bow. Chris McCann, defensive midfielder by trade. He replaced Yamil Assad for the last quarter of an hour. So Chris McCann, who has made well over 300 appearances in all competitions in England, mainly in the Championship, with the likes of Burnley and Wigan. 1 year in the Premier League with Burnley. 29-year-old, one of those you mentioned, who's just picked up a green card as well, so doesn't take up an international slot.
But I also think because of that, that process missing training, Tata Martino made it a point that, he's got to get back into the swing of things. But I think when Chris McCann's healthy, I think that center midfield, Carmona, McCann, that gives them some stability with those 4 attacking players in front of them.
Look how much space there is again for Atlanta to exploit. Swathes of it as Martínez sent it across. Almirón has been able to lose his markers at will. Be careful here, don't they, Minnesota, that it doesn't get completely out of hand. Not that it isn't already at 5-1.
It's 5-1, Adrian.
Yes. There's every sign that it could get even worse.
And by the way, look at the next 4 games.
Yep.
I mean, the schedule doesn't get easier. I mean, that's part of what MLS is about, but...
Meanwhile, at the other end, trying to provide a ray of sunshine, was Peterson with the cross.
You would have to think the group looked at it, and when the opening schedule came out, the opening game at home, you would thought, well, you know what? Against a fellow expansion team, maybe this is where we can steal 3 points. Instead, they've given up 10 goals in 2 games.
At Colorado, at New England, at Dallas, and at Houston. It's a schedule that would test any MLS team, wouldn't it?
Well, that New England game is now their home opener because they canceled their game due to weather this weekend.
Molino, second time of asking. That's easy for Can. Atlanta, of course, will continue to play at Bobby Dodd Stadium, where they got 55,000 last week for their home opener until the end of July. Mercedes-Benz Stadium will open up.
I'm wondering if Tata Martino's looking at it and saying maybe he brings on Harrison Heath to go against his dad. It's 5-1. He's made the trip. I know we'll see Jones at some point, but you wonder if he's thinking about it. We noticed that on the 18 that Harrison Heath was on the bench.
Yep. Of course, it was with his father Adrian at Orlando last year. Went in different directions. Kenwyne Jones, you mentioned him, is standing by. Trinidadian striker about to come on. Jones and McCann were the first signings that Atlanta made.
Well, how's that for depth, though?
Yeah.
Right. So if they need to chase a game, or they want to change it up, and obviously with the international break, you need. I mean, Jones can come in. Martínez can then go wide if you need to, because he's versatile, and we've seen it tonight. It's just this attack, the 5 or 6 guys on the roster. Martino's got plenty of options. And on the other hand, what's Minnesota got? They're losing 3-1, 4-1, 5-1, and you look at the bench. Abu Danladi, a rookie from UCLA, is their backup center forward.
Miguel Ibarra on the bench, who has played so little soccer in the last 18 months. Of course, a real star at NSL level for Minnesota United, so much so that he was called up to the US men's national team. Here's the Trinidadian international, meanwhile, Kenwyne Jones, who's going to come on as the hat-trick man who's going to make way. Joseph Martínez, who got the ball rolling early here, inside 3 minutes.
Well, and he made a statement right away. He came to play. Short sleeve. He tells Julie Stewart-Binks that snow? What snow? Cold? What cold? I'm here to play. Opening whistle, he was active, running off the shoulders, running the seams. Pavel Demidov couldn't even get a touch on him. And when you watch all 3 finishes, there's not a single Minnesota United defender around him.
That will be the most worrying aspect as Adrian Heath looks back at this tape. The ease with which 4 out of the 5 Atlanta United goals came about. Molino. If there is a bright spark for Minnesota to take away from the afternoon, very few of them, but Kevin Molino perhaps one of them, Taylor.
Yeah, he's done his best of trying to impact the game, trying to have some kind of initiative, asserting himself in multiple ways, but it's been this story right here. When the ball turns over, they go right through the middle of Minnesota, and then the back 4 is chasing the game.
Over the top from McCann towards Kenwyne Jones. Ugly back heel from him. Villalba bursting through. And only Alborga denying him what would have been the 6th of the afternoon.
And the difference between Jones and Martínez is Jones is more of a traditional number 9. He's extremely comfortable with his back to goal, and you're seeing that.
Oh, painful.
Well, it looks like a gash, doesn't it, Adrian?
Yep.
Just right there in your picture. Just a nasty collision. But again, going back to the difference between Martínez and Jones is comfortable in that spot. He's comfortable with his back to goal. He's more of a traditional number 9. Taylor trying to come in late here. Such a great layoff for Villalba running off him. And then the collision here. Taylor coming in late. This team has so many options, so many different looks. Atlanta United is going to be an exciting team from start to finish in 2017.
Well, that was Villalba's final contribution to the game as he burst in on Alborga. He is replaced by Jacob Peterson. As Alborga, meanwhile, has the stretcher out. 34-year-old Swedish keeper on loan from Gothenburg in his home country. Conceding 5 on his MLS debut. Actually wasn't a record. Curtis Spiteri of Chicago holds that record, conceding 6, but
I'm not sure Curtis gave up 10 in 2.
no.
But all kidding aside, you don't. None of the goals have really been his fault either.
Nothing much you could do about any of them in 2 weeks of play.
I mean, you could maybe criticize his positioning on Almirón's first goal because he beat him near post coming across, but it's just when you have that much time and that much space to have a finish, it's been a difficult spot in a difficult 2 games in his MLS debut.
Well, pain all around for the Swedish stopper. And it looks as though Bobby Shuttleworth, the man they picked up from the New England Revolution in the off-season, is going to come on as his replacement. There he is. Shuttleworth, who was battling for that number 1 spot with Brad Knighton last year in the Revolution. Alborga does indeed make way. Like this task for a goalkeeper to come in cold. His side 5-1 down.
But Bobby Shuttleworth went to University of Buffalo, so it's not the first snowstorm he's ever seen.
That's for sure. Well, his first task is to try and deal with this corner. They worked it short by Peterson instead. Jones. To find an exit route, the Minnesota defense. Saeed. Darted forward in the direction of Almirón. First time in MLS history that a team has conceded 5 goals in back-to-back games. Never happened before. And it was now the 22nd season in the league. It's not the sort of history that they wanted to be writing here in the All-Star stage. They waited so long this afternoon. Professional soccer had been sort of incubated over the years, Taylor, since it was last played at this level in the NASL days.
Well, and this was a team where in the NASL in the late 70s, early 80s, they were a real good team. You've had some quality. I mean, you saw some of the players here tonight. Alan Willie, Steve Litt, Ace Netzalinge. You go up and down the list. That team was good. If not for the New York Cosmos, they may have won a couple soccer bowls. So this community's used to teams winning.
Yep.
And then recently in the NASL, Minnesota United was good. I think they underestimated the jump from the NASL to MLS. And everyone will look at Adrian Heath, but remind everyone, Adrian Heath was hired the middle of November in 2016. Tato Martino's had some time. He's also had an organization with Paul McDonough, you know, go up and down the line. That's why I just think, I think it's way too soon to compare because it really is apples and oranges when you look at the timeline.
Yeah. And again, so look up at the owner's suite, Bill McGuire. And there, Arthur Blank alongside him. They've had very different experiences, haven't they, bringing these two franchises to life.
Oh, and two owners that are going to and already have will make Major League Soccer grow a lot faster because they're now involved.
Yeah. Contusion is the official prognosis, according to our Julie Stewart-Finks. Taking off John Alborga to try and stop the bleeding. Stopping the bleeding has been almost impossible for Minnesota this afternoon, right from the word go. It's been showtime in the snow. The Atlanta South American superstars.
But we talked about it a little bit, right, at halftime, and this is the transformation of Major League Soccer. You look at Almirón, Martínez,
Yep.
the young, Villalba, like you look at how young they are. What statement does it say now if Martínez goes to World Cup qualifiers in South America, scores a couple goals, and everyone then says, well, yeah, he's playing here at Atlanta United. It's completely different than having a European player, with all due respect, the Frank Lampards and Steven Gerrards that are 37, 38, Andrea Pirlo. This is a bigger statement. So we look back on Major League Soccer 5-7 years from now, I guarantee you we'll look at it, and Atlanta United will be a big part of that reason.
Molino scurrying to pick up the rebound from his own free kick. He's done really well. Flicks it across. A shot from distance. Cannons through. Molino decided to let that spin out of play for a corner. And trying to at least finish with a flourish here in Minnesota. Jones there to meet the corner from his fellow Trinidadian. I did feel one of the challenges heading in here in Minnesota was to really cement this club in a city where there are 4 major sports played. MLS becomes obviously the 5th. Soccer support has always been here in this community.
I think that's getting a little far ahead of themselves, Adrian. I really believe their biggest challenge is the first 6 months of this year. Is they have to be extremely careful not overreacting. If they lose their first 10 games, then so what, take your lumps. But if you compound your initial roster mistakes with more mistakes, then you're in a hole that's ultimately going to take you 3-4 years to get out of. And it's going to be very, very difficult over the first month, if they keep losing games and keep giving up goals, to be so overreacted. Then the summer comes and you sign contracts that you really don't want to be in 12, 18 months down the road.
Have to somehow resist the urge to hit that big red panic button. 2 5-1 defeats have most clubs looking in that direction right off the bat.
I also think it's difficult for Adrian Heath because he wants to play this proactive style and have his fullbacks going forward, and we saw it even in Orlando. Can he look at this group of players, Adrian, and say, you know what, I've got to play a 4-5-1, I've got to sit in and defend, I've got to try to get anything I can get out of games? I'm not sure that's even in Adrian's mind. It's not in his DNA to have a defensive style of game, and yet they've given up 10 goals in 2 games. They're going to have to do that. Otherwise, it's going to be a long debut season.
There's the cross and make that 6 for Atlanta. Well, this is just stunning from Atlanta United, ripping apart Minnesota United at the seams. Jacob Peterson making life even worse for that man. Adrian Heath looking on, nothing he can do about it.
Just an absolute shocking display. That is inside your own 18, no pressure on the ball whatsoever. And we've seen Jacob Peterson in our air last year for Sporting Kansas City at the end of games, get on the end of crosses, he can play multiple positions. You've got to be kidding me. That's in your own 18, no pressure whatsoever. Adrian Heath and his staff, they've got their work cut out on trying to get this team, this group of players together quickly. 11 goals in 180 minutes.
Simply stunning afternoon. More ways than one. Atlanta United wondered how they would cope with the conditions. What would the mentality be like? They shrug off the disappointment of last week when they had a victory in the palm of their hands against the Red Bulls and saw that evaporate. Right from the word go here, they have been simply stellar. Parkhurst thumping it forward, but the final whistle has sounded. Atlanta have crashed the party here in Minnesota, and they have spilt wine all over the carpet here in the Twin Cities. They take home the 3 points. They're the first team to score 6 goals in a game in their debut season ever in league history, as Tata Martino meets Adrian Heath in the middle.
Look for Martínez getting in behind.
And that's exactly what he's done here. Martínez gives the visitors the perfect start.
3 minutes in, Atlanta stretches him out, and the last person they want in getting in behind is Joseph Martínez. Easy finish, great start for Atlanta United on the road.
Almirón has found all sorts of space again. Oh, and he's rifled it into the roof of the net. Miguel Almirón with a simply scintillating finish.
His movement, what is he, 5'7", 140 wet? It doesn't matter. He doesn't stop. He's constantly on the movement. Very similar like Nicholas Ladero for the Seattle Sounders. How's this for a start of a team full of South Americans?
Oh, they're through again here, and it's 3! It just gets better and better.
Turf, snow, weather, their first touch, their layoffs, their runs off the ball. They've been on point from the opening whistle and have completely played Minnesota United off their home field.
Molino. And Molino trying to
gotta be a
back
penalty.
on. He's given the penalty.
And that's the right call. Jeff Lorenowitz is playing for the ball, but Kevin Molino a little bit quicker.
Molino against Kevin Molino, as cool as you like, rolls it home.
Brings some life and some energy into this Minnesota United home opener.
It's Atlanta defense as well. And he comes, oh, it's up for grabs still. The shot deflected and back off the bar. They cannot force it home. Minnesota United so close.
The last 2 or 3 corners, it's been an issue. This ball gets all the way through the 6-yard box. He gets a first save here, but then it's the quick reaction from Jermaine Taylor. But I think the last 10 or 12 minutes, Adrian, it's something for Adrian Heath. Anything positive out of that first half, he's got to go with.
Villalba repelled only half away, and it's 4, and that might be that.
Talk about warning signs to the rest of Major League Soccer. If you lose possession, you better watch out, because Atlanta United can absolutely kill you on the counter.
Taking on Spain as they've broken through here again, Atlanta, and the finish is made, and this is just getting out of hand for Minnesota.
You have seen Calvo and Demidov chase shadows, and that shadow has been of Joseph Martínez. They've given up 10 goals in 2 games. They're going to have to do that. Otherwise, it's going to be a long debut season.
Comes the cross and make that 6 for Atlanta.
You've got to be kidding me. That's in your own 18. No pressure whatsoever.
Parkhurst thumping it forward, but the final whistle has sounded.
But we know that you know, every point is valuable when you go on the road. You know, it's difficult. You know, they're opening up their stadium as well. You know, it's going to take a good performance.
Watch Atlanta United. Already, here we are 2 minutes into the game. Snow or not, cold weather or not, they're going to possess. They've got an identity. They're going to push numbers forward.
Oh, it's up for grabs still! The shot deflected and back off the bar! They cannot force it home! And that's exactly what he's done here. Martínez gives the visitors the perfect start. A change. Almirón has found all sorts of space again. Oh, and he's rifled it into the roof of the net. Oh, they're through again here, and it's 3! It just gets better and better for Atlanta. Devastating front play from the South American stars for Atlanta United. As they've broken through here again, Atlanta, and the finish is made. Martínez has completed his hat-trick. That's the cross and make that 6 for Atlanta.
There he is. Congratulations, man. First one.